Well, it's the morning of January 5th, and I'm heading into public land here. Got about a mile walk in, back to a spot where Aaron and I had a really good hunt at about the same time last year. And he shot a big doe with his grandfather's old muzzleloader. It was one of the most exciting hunts, meaningful hunts that we had last year. And conditions are almost identical today. Bitterly cold, -2 right now. And my plan is to sit this morning until about 8:45, 9 o'clock. And I'll stay on stand, but if I don't happen to get a deer by natural movement, then the guys are going to come in and do a wind bump for me. It's a technique that we used last year and it worked to perfection. That's how Aaron actually shot his doe. So we'll see how it goes. Well, it's about 9:30 right now, and it's about -2 degrees, so it's good and cold. But the deer activity has been pretty good. I've seen 5 different bucks so far. 2 shed bucks and 3 yearling bucks or small 2-year-old. When I got into the timber this morning, it was quite clear that the deer have been using this area a lot. It looks like a cattle feedlot with all the tracks that are around the stand. And the main attraction here is these locust pods. Those deer spend a half hour around the stand here feeding them. So it just goes to show that some of these natural food sources like this can be really attractive. And this spot is nice because the deer have worked their way back through the thick cover. They're in the security cover now. They're close to bedding. And they just work their way through here, taking their time, feeding before they go off to bed. So we've really come to like this spot. We've had some success out of it. It's got a lot going for it strategically. And it sets up well to do a wind bump, which the guys have probably just started to do. So it's been a half hour since those deer drifted off. And now we're going to see if we can do a little bit of forced movement with the wind bump.
We're about to start this wind bump to Greg right now. He's down at the end of this big draw. It's all thick, nasty thermal cover. Sets up good for northerly wind bedding. We're at the north end right now, and we have a northeast wind. I just checked it with milkweed. Our scent is floating right down into the bedding area right now. So what we're going to do, the 3 of us are just going to kind of zigzag through there, letting our scent drift into the bedding area. And basically just trying to bump the deer softly out of the bedding towards Greg, because he's set up on a main escape route at the bottom end of this draw.
Yep.
We just had deer get up in front of us about 40 yards away. It either heard us or it smelled us. His head got to be heading right to Greg. We're in the process of wind bumping to Greg. he's located at the end of this draw a few hundred yards down. And we're finding a lot of beds in these thermal cover situations. This is exactly what we mean when we're talking about thermal cover. Right here you got a big cedar tree, and on the downwind side of the cedar tree there's a bed right here. There's hair in it. You can obviously see where the snow's melted. And Brody and I jumped this deer out of this bed about 40 yards ago. We heard it get up and head down towards Greg. So the wind's coming at the deer's back. It's watching down through this stuff, finding lots of beds in very similar situations while we're doing this wind bump.
Bop. Bop. Well, the guys just finished up the wind bump, and it didn't work quite as well as last year, unfortunately. Had one doe that came running by, and a rabbit came right under the stand. That was the tally. Well, thanks for coming out, boys.
Yeah, man.
Didn't quite work as well as last year. The wind bump.
But we did see lots of deer and got some good scouting done. Yeah, it's really dense thermal cover in there, like at this last spot. It's all cedars and stuff, and I'm not surprised that would be the last place they head after smelling, humans or whatever.
Yeah.
But we bumped a few deer out of there. It sounded like we could hear them getting up ahead of us, and they weren't bolting out of there really. They were just kind of, it was obvious that they heard us or smelled us, and they were getting up and moving this direction. They just may not have come right by your stand.
Yeah. Had a doe come right by, but she was running pretty good, and I tried to stop her, but she was gone. Although Jake pushed a rabbit by me perfectly.
I saw a lot of rabbits
right
in
under
there.
the stand.
There's a lot of rabbits.
Pretty
in there.
excited about that.
Yep.
Boy, you can see there's just tracks everywhere in here where they've been browsing on these.
And
it's kind of a cool spot. We picked the stand not because of that, but it was kind of like an added bonus. There's a line of hedge, and there's locust pods here, or locust trees, so there's a lot of natural browse here that they stop and feed on as they come out of the thick cover and then head east to go to bed. Brody's doe was feeding on them before he got a shot at her. Deer last year we watched in here late season were feeding on these pods, and this morning I had 5 or 6 deer around me for a half hour feeding on them. I mean, they're all easily within range and could have shot them had they been a target deer.
It's just one of those spots where a lot of habitat types come together. You got cedar, you have some oak on the side hills here, then you've got locust mixed in, you got a little pond right there on the top of that hill over there to the northwest. It actually opens up, and there's some tall weeds and tall grass. That's all within like 100 yards of one another right there where the stand is. It's right in the middle of it. So
yeah, there's a lot that comes together right here.
It just didn't work this morning.
Lots
of deer though.
Saw plenty of deer.
Lots of deer sign.
Late season, it can definitely be worth hunting mornings.
Oh yeah,
for sure. I mean, I didn't start seeing deer until 8:15, 8:30, and they moved and were in this area until about 9:30, until they finally kind of worked over the ridge and bedded down. I did see one small buck bed down up on the ridge here and watched him for a while. I mean, if you can find a spot like this where you can kind of slip in the back door and you're close to bedding cover, and in this particular spot, it's kind of a little transition area, a little low-lying area with a bunch of natural browse that, once the deer get back into the security cover, they just work their way through here and feed.
Yeah, this is right in the middle of the bedding too. Like deer are bedding within 40, 50 yards of this tree.
Yep.
And these are the places where we have the best luck in the mornings, especially this time of year.
Yeah. Well, it's a fun morning.
Yep.
Worth a shot with the wind bump.
Yeah, it was. We got to get out of here now. Long walk across the ice to get back to the truck.